Hi, I'm Susan Goes. I'm the Executive Director of Cottage Theater. I'm sitting here today with Keith Kessler, who is the director of our upcoming Marley and Scrooge. Keith also happens to be the playwright. He writes under the name K.K. Mills. Keith, tell me about the beginning of Marley and Scrooge.
Well, I'd always wanted to do some writing, and I wanted to write a musical, and I truly didn't think I was creative enough to write something all by myself. So I went to the story that is really my favorite story of all time, and that's The Christmas Carol. So that's how I got the germ of the idea.
And when was this?
I started writing in the summer of 2001, and what took me the most time is I really loved the story, and I loved Dickens' language, so I needed to have a narrator so I could get that language into a character's mouth. And I was watching a lot of videos, and one night I was watching the section where Marley sits next to Scrooge and says, "I don't know why you can see me tonight, but many a night I've sat right next to you, invisible." And that was what gave me the inspiration. If he could be there every other night, maybe he could be here this night. And thus, Marley and Scrooge was born.
Now, did you imagine this as a musical right from the start?
Right from the start, because I love musicals, and I just felt like this was a story that would be able to move along really well with music. And I guess as every playwright is, you have a little egotism in you that thinks that nobody else has done it quite right yet, so we started that way.
And tell me about the collaboration with Gene Slater. How did that come to be?
I wrote the whole book and lyrics, not having a composer, and then I know that when you do a play, you need to have it in people's mouths. So in December of that year, I asked a bunch of people to come right here in this theater and do a read-through. And without me knowing about it, Amanda Ferguson, who is part of CT here in many, many ways, asked Gene to come down. He came down, he listened, he went home that night and wrote the first 3 or 4 measures of the opening song, Ebenezer Scrooge, which is exactly what we'll be performing on opening night, December 4th.
Now, this coming production is not the first time Marley and Scrooge has been on the stage. Tell me about the world premiere.
5 years ago, we had the opportunity to put on Marley and Scrooge right here at CT on this stage, and we had a sold-out run, and it went incredibly well. And so then Gene and I took suggestions, asked people for feedback, and we have changed some of the songs and shortened things. We've rewritten a couple of the songs. We've taken a couple of scenes out, added a new one in, and we have a few little tricks up our sleeve to make it more ghostly and more fun in 2009.
Well, super. Thanks very much for being with us and talking to us, Keith.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to work with Cottage Theater.